You're listening to Hidden Roll, the podcast where we introduce you to the brains behind your favorite toys, games, and all things play. Before we jump into this episode, we'd like to give special thanks to Pop, peopleofplay.com, the one-stop hub for all toy and game inventors. Without them, this podcast would not be possible.
You're listening to Hidden Roll, the podcast that introduces you to the brains behind your favorite toys, games, and all things play. I'm artist, engineer, and game inventor David Yakos.
And I'm game designer Branson Faustini, and together we get to talk to the people who make the world of fun.
And we've got somebody again today that is behind the scenes making a lot of fun. She is the senior manager leading the global Lego business on the Disney Global Commercialization team. She also works at Disney as an ad hoc inventor relations. Before Disney, she worked as global brand management for both Spin Master and Hasbro. And she's also the chairperson for People of Play Advisory Board and will also be hosting this year's Taggy Awards. I want to welcome Carrie Bean.
Hi, everyone.
I've got to know you over the years just through the People of Play. And you've always got amazing stories and an amazing background. So thank you so much for jumping on here with us today.
At least somebody thinks I'm interesting.
I'm not alone. You're so interesting. In fact, let's start with where you live. Because when I think working for global brand management and global commercialization, I'm thinking corporate office. You're living in the middle of the city, but that's not the case, is it?
No, it's not. During COVID, my family and I bought a horse ranch in Acton, California. It's about 40 miles north of LA. So I really essentially live in this beautiful bubble of hills, and I have about a 5-acre horse ranch, and I have 7 of my own horses. I have donkeys and pigs and goats. I had a brand new litter of kittens just this morning. So I'm just out here surrounded by animals and just beautiful country.
So like a working ranch, are you like growing these pigs for bacon or are they pets?
Well, my pigs are pets, but we do raise some of our own food like steers and pigs that are for, meat. So we do that. We do raise our own food.
So I'm under the impression if you name it, you can't eat it.
I'm under the same impression too. So I will not name anything, and I cannot I can't look at them. Somebody else has to take care of them, or else I'll be that person at the end, hugging them, chaining myself to them, trying to save them, even though I was my idea to raise them. So I have to completely disconnect from the animal because I do get very attached.
Unless you come up with really cool names like this is T-Bone.
They did that. We had 3 steers and they called them Sirloin and Tri-Tip and something else. And they made me write the ear tags just because they thought it was funny. But yeah, just one day I was on a business trip and I came back and they were gone. They just went to Disneyland, they told me. So that's how I like to think of it.
Is that what happens?
Yeah. Some people say they went to freezer camp.
Well, it's awesome. I live in Montana where it's not too dissimilar here, and I think it's a great being connected back to food source. I think it's something that a lot of people are disconnected with, and the normalcy of that in normal living. I think it's a healthy mindset.
We're big in 4-H too. Like at least the kids are that ride with us, or the families that surround us, and it's like teaching the kids how to respect your food and how to care for your food because they're giving back to you, right? These animals are taking care of us. And when these animals are here on our ranches, I can't love them, but the kids do. Other people do. They take incredible care of these animals and they're in beautiful surroundings. They're loved. And then they give back to us. And it's a pretty incredible lesson, I think, for kids and families to see that happen.
And you're a real horse person too, are you not?
I am. I started riding maybe about 3 years ago. My daughter was into show jumping, and she decided that she didn't want to show jump anymore. She wanted to do barrel racing. So we found a barrel racing trainer up here in Acton, And of course, I was the one to take her to the lessons. And the trainer was like, Mom, get on the horse. Get on this horse. Why don't you ride this horse, Mom? And I started riding, and I haven't stopped since. So it's been like 3 years, and now I'm like barrel racing. I won my first buckle last year in the old lady group. So let's be real, it's just old ladies. So it was a lot of fun, and we train. So my friends and I, like through COVID, this is all we did. We just rode horses because that was all we could do, and we were right in the midst of high school rodeo, so we were able to be out and be with our animals. And our friends and I, we started an equine rescue. So we have an equine rescue called Tough Luck Trio. We're a 501c. We have rescued, rehomed, and rehabilitated almost 50 horses in the past 18 months.
Wow.
That's
So
amazing.
we go
That's
and
awesome.
we take them out of slaughterhouses. We gotten some from Texas. We take them out of backyards. Owners who can't care for their animals anymore, they surrender their horses to us, and we figure out what they want to do and what they like. Because not all horses want to do the same thing. It's just like they're just like people, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
like some things and they don't. They might need a little bit of training in certain areas, but we do that, and then we find a person who wants to do what the horse wants to do. So we're not forcing the horse to do something it's just not fun or they don't like. We really match them up to the right owners, and it's been an incredible experience, and I absolutely love it.
That's got to be rewarding and
Yeah.
in a good contrast between like the other work life.
Yeah, it is. It's purposeful. Not that what we do, the toy industry is extremely purposeful, but in a very different way. I just feel more in touch with like a bigger power, I guess. Like I just feel more in touch with everything around me, and it just brings me such peace.
Well, that's a lot of fun. So I guess other than being a horse person, which I guess around here we call centaurs, the
That puts an image in my head.
so you mentioned, and I guess we are here for the world of play. You weren't always doing horse stuff, but you've been working in this world of play. I'm curious, how did you get your start in that?
Well, I had lived in Michigan for a long time, for about 12 years, and our family is all from the East Coast. My husband's family's from Massachusetts, my family's from Vermont. And we had an opportunity for my husband to be relocated back to Massachusetts. So we went back there, lock, stock, and barrel. And I started working with a temp agency because I figured that was a way to get to know all the companies in the area, what was good, what was bad. And I wasn't like a temp person, I was an admin for the temp agency. And after a while, like I had a really good relationship with my boss, and that wasn't the place where I was supposed to be. That was just a stepping stone. She knew it and I knew it. And I got to a point where I'm like, I want to do something else. She's like, what do you want to do? And she goes, oh, you know what? Hasbro has a job opening. Why don't you apply for that? It's a temp position, but it's a way to get your foot in the door. And it never dawned on me, one, that Hasbro or / Milton Bradley had been in that area of Massachusetts manufacturing games for such a long time. And I never thought of who made the toys. I never even considered there was people that actually did this for a living and that I could do it for a living.
Elves.
So I was like, yeah, I was like, you know what? I'll take this temp job. And it was like in trade marketing. And so I took the temp job. I had an amazing, amazing boss. He taught me everything. And it was a mat leave. So in 3 months, he just taught me an incredible amount about marketing and trade marketing. And then there was a position opening on the international marketing team, reporting into George Birch and Peter Christophe. So I got hired on full time, which was an incredible dream. I remember walking up the stairs in the East Long Meadow building. And when you walk up the stairs, it's this wall, and the first thing you see is Mr. Monopoly painted on it, and then Jenga and Twister. And I just thought, this is where I'm supposed to be. It's kind of like with horses. I just knew this is where I was going to be, and this is where I needed to be. So I started working full time in the international marketing group, and it was our job to kind of bring the global games together, because at that time it was very fragmented within Hasbro. And we had to pull all the regions and kind of create one global games business. And it was an incredible opportunity. And I remember George Birch on my first day, he said to me, well, Beanie, here's your desk. You're either going to sink or you're going to swim. And I was like, okay. And then he said, if people see you coming, they should turn around and run the other way. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And then he's like, good luck. He was gone. It's like, that was my training at Hasbro. And but they let me, I wasn't just like, my title was International Marketing Coordinator, but I was really doing global brand management. And they just encouraged me to do whatever it was that I felt was right to do to bring this business together. So I completely worked out of my comfort zone, but we eventually built the team up, and it was one of the best teams I've ever worked on. And to this day, we still have staff meetings. Every month we have a staff meeting, and it's like George Birch, Phil Jackson, Peter Christophe, and our entire team. And we just mentor each other. We're there for each other. We, therapy sessions, gossip sessions. We have like people come in who we worked with at Hasbro because we call ourselves has-beens. So we have a lot of different has-beens come in. It's pretty amazing.
That sounds like a really transformative time.
It was complete. And I had no marketing background whatsoever. None. I had never done anything like that before. And I ended up going back to school to get my marketing degree. And I really, in a sense, I had to reinvent myself because who I was before was not this toy industry marketing person. I was never that way. So I had to completely reinvent myself and think about, like, who do I want to be? What do I want to stand for? Like, what is the Carrie Bean brand? And a lot of that came out of going back to school at an older age. I just think I really appreciated it more than I did when I was young. Because I went and got my degree when I was younger, but it was nothing, and I didn't appreciate it at all because I was 18 years old and had no idea what I wanted to do. So, and then after international, I was a coordinator and I was promoted to manager, and then I went into managing global games licensing. So I did licensing for Hasbro as well.
And coming into the toy industry historically has been a little bit more male heavy. And
yeah.
And so did you experience that? Did you feel like, you had to fight your way through to be heard? And
No, because male heavy, it was really the senior leaders that were male heavy. Everybody else, the entire marketing team was pretty much made up of women. So you had to make sure that you had more of a voice. Like, you had to break through all these really strong women. I mean, the women I worked with were so smart. Everybody was like a bit of type A with a bit of collaborative, type C, personalities in there. But I never had to worry too much about trying to break through the guys. It was the women, like you really had to stand out. You had to be a rock star because you were surrounded by rock stars. And George and Peter just encouraged me to always open my mouth. Like, and if I got in trouble because I said something, they always had my back. They were like, well, she's doing her job. That's what she's supposed to say. You might not like it, but that's what she was supposed to say.
Better run the other way if you don't want to hear it.
Exactly. And then after a while, I said to George, I don't understand why people should run the other way. He goes, because you're always asking people for something. Because we need to be the conduit between the North American and the global teams, and you want information from them. So that's why they should run the other way, because I don't want to give you that info.
Do you have any awkward or embarrassing stories from that time?
Well, not so much the Hasbro times, though. What happens at Hasbro stays at Hasbro. So those embarrassing stories, I don't think I could tell. But I did have a couple, like, recently. Sometimes I just feel like I'm a hot mess. You're traveling a lot, and I was sitting in a meeting, and I was at Lego. I was in Billund, which is in Denmark, and a room full of people. And usually I wear jeans and a blazer. That's what a lot of people wear when you go to Billund. And so I had crossed my legs, and I had this bump in the back of my leg. I was like, "What the hell is this?" So in a break, I got up and I go into the bathroom. I've got like a wad of underwear in the back of my pant leg, and it was huge. Like I looked like I had a growth on the back of my leg. I'm like, I don't know how I got from the hotel to this building without my coworkers saying, "There's something on the back of your leg." So. So I had to pull it out. And of course, here I am with underwear in my hand. I don't have a bag. I don't have pockets. I'm wearing a blazer, and that's it. So now I've got to smuggle underwear back into the conference room. So I kind of shoved it like as far down in my pocket as I could. And then I pulled my blazer over it. And when I got into the conference room, I always have snacks in my bag. So I bent over to pull out snacks, and I shoved my underwear into the bag, and I turned to my PD partner. I'm like, "You can tell me it's something in the back of my pants." He goes, I didn't know. I'm like, "Tell me." I was so mad and mortified, but we still laugh about it to this day. And so now I always check my pants to make sure underwear didn't get stuck in it when I'm traveling.
Well, I heard that the adventures there in Denmark in Billund can be adventurous, especially if fire is involved. Is that what I hear?
Yes. So, after work, after a series of meetings, you always go out to dinner, right? So in Denmark, it's usually dark by 4:00. So we were at a small like boutique hotel restaurant near the Lego building, and they always have candles everywhere. And so it's very like ambiance is very nice, whatever. So there's like there's 5 of us sitting around the table, and we're talking and talking. And then of course I'm talking away. And I have a menu, and they always give you the paper menu, right? So I'm talking away with my hands, and the paper menu catches on fire because there's like 80 candles on the table. So across from me is one of my counterparts from our European office, and I just see her going, like not even like really blowing out the candle, just like blowing like your grandma who has lost her breath, right? I'm like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, and there's flames coming up from this menu, and then there's the guy next to me has a glass of water, and he's getting ready to toss the glass of water onto the menu. And then my other PD partner took the napkin and smashed out the paper. So the menu is like half burnt off. And then we're dying, because in the moment it's super funny. And then when I came back the following year and we went back to the restaurant, because there's not many restaurants in Billund, the waiter says to me, he says, "Oh, you're the one that tried to burn down the restaurant." A year went by, and he still remembered me.
He had a picture of you on the wall of like, warning.
Oh my God.
Do not serve this.
It was mortifying. Mortifying. Nobody's forgotten it. And when you go to the bathrooms, like candles on the back of the toilet. So I'm always mindful of my hair, like in case my hair hangs down. So you got to be aware of the candles when you go to Denmark in the wintertime.
Well, it sounds like it'd be fun to travel with.
Yeah.
It's never a dull moment.
What was next after your time at Hasbro?
So I don't know if everybody remembers, but Hasbro decided to move the entire East Longmeadow Games team down to Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And instead of Hasbro having control of what my destiny was, I wanted to take control of my own destiny. So my boss, Peter Christoffi, had gone to work for Spin Master in LA. And so he had called and said, "Hey, if you're interested, I have a position here. Why don't you come out and see what you think about it?" And so I was like, you know what? This is the perfect opportunity. I'm going to start looking around because I'm going to take control of what happens to me here. Sometimes in layoffs, right, they're really hard and you feel like you have no control. And to some, it's very upsetting to your lives and to people. And if you feel like if you can grasp some sort of control over something, I think it helps you get through the uncertainty and the unknown and the fact like you might lose your job or be let go.
Yeah.
So I flew out to LA and I went and I visited the offices of Spin Master, and they were in Culver City, which is right near the airport, which, I had watched the Kardashians and, all the reality TV shows.
Good quality
That's not
programming.
what LA looked like. So I remember I was driving back to the airport. I had really good interviews. I met the teams. It was wonderful. I remember driving back and like, there's no way in hell I'm taking this job. I am not living here. There's no way. And I go back home, they call up and they make me an offer. And I was like, oh, well, I can reconsider this in my position of that I hated LA. So they made me a really nice offer, and my family and I, we just packed up everything in Massachusetts and we all moved out to LA in 2011, I think it was. And I was a global brand manager, and Spin Master just wanted to start up their games business. They had like headbands and a couple other games, but they really didn't have the robust games like Hasbro had or somebody else had. So we were starting that up, and I worked at Spin Master for about 3 years, and we started up the global games business.
So going to Spin Master, was it all roses, all easy?
No, it wasn't. I mean, the first couple of years were good. And then Peter had left the company, and he was replaced with, like, we all have those bad bosses, right? It was like horrible bosses. And I think that, looking back, is probably like one of the biggest challenges of my career, was having a boss that didn't think I was a rock star or didn't like me, I'm not sure what there is not to like, but you just meet these people in life that just aren't on the same page as you. And my leadership was completely different than her leadership. And she was very, like an engineer kind of brain and attitude in mind. And I'm like on the creative side. So we were two opposite people. And instead of embracing that, like when I worked at Hasbro and George's team, George always said, like, you guys are the smart ones. I'm surrounding myself by smart people. And that's how we built this incredible team. And I'm not quite sure what she wanted, but it wasn't me. So I felt like I was constantly being set up for failure versus being set up for success. And I think the more I tried, the more I failed. And I felt like it was such a personal failure. And I didn't deal with it well because I did take it very personally. I didn't know how to handle it. Luckily, the Disney opportunity came up. And when I stepped back and I was able to look at it, I never wanted to admit this, but I think you have to, but she taught me more in being a horrible boss, probably than I would have learned if she was a great boss. I understood how not to lead people. I understood that I wanted to lead with empathy. I never wanted someone to feel the way I felt. And if someone isn't good at one thing, that doesn't mean that they can't do the job, right? It just means we have to figure out what your strengths are and how we can work together to complement your strengths and my strengths. And we're covering my weaknesses and your weaknesses. There's not one person that's perfect, right? I mean, when you work for a company like Spin at the time, it was kind of like the Wild West. You had to be your finance person, you had to be your legal person, you had to be a quality control engineer. I was marketing. That's what I went to school for. That's what I knew how to do. I didn't know how to do quality engineering, that I didn't know how to do cost engineering. I learned a lot, but I also I stumbled along the way. But from my failures, I think it made me stronger, and it made me accept that I need to be able to have difficult conversations. I need to be my own advocate and my own voice. I could have handled it much better. And so I ended up learning a lot more. Took me a little while to get over it. Took me a little while to admit that. And I think I had PTSD for about a year. But as I look back on it now, my failure was probably one of the best things that happened to me, because I think I came out of it a lot stronger and learned how to deal with difficult people, because we come across them every single day. And I think I also learned not to take things personally. Sometimes it's just business.
I'm curious with failure because we see that a lot. We're on the other side of the table as the inventors, right? A lot of people see it as rejection,
Right.
but it's in my mind, it's just not trying. It's like not getting back up again. And I'm curious on your side of the table, like when you're feeling like failure, like what is making you feel that? What is the failure?
Sometimes it's like, I think for myself, right? If I'm not the best at something, then I've looked at it like I've failed, right? Or if I made a decision that wasn't the right decision, and the decision, that's a failure to me. If I'm trying to think of another example, because with product, I don't look as product as a failure. Like if one of our products don't work, I don't look like, oh my God, we failed. I don't look at it like that. But for me, is if I'm not the best at something, to me, I feel like I failed. Or if I didn't give it my best, or if I didn't handle it the right way, or I coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? Those are my failures. But instead of like going to the least common denominator, right? Like what is the one, focusing on the one thing I did wrong, I can focus on all the things I did right and what I learned from that failure. Because now my view on failures is we need them. They serve a purpose in our lives. They make us better, and we should be embracing our failures, because if you're not failing, you're not doing anything. Like what are you actually doing?
Yeah.
Like, because you're going to be the most perfect person in the world and everything you do just works? Like that's not reality. And if you're just never have a failure in your life, does that, you haven't been doing anything. And
It's good scrapping.
I learned. Yeah, I just learned from now. I learn from all my failures. I learned to accept that there's going to be some things that I'm not a rock star at, that I'm not good at, that I might have to work harder at, and that's okay. And that's okay. I'm going to learn, and I'm not going to be perfect at everything, but I'm always learning, and
you're close to it.
That's what I love. Yeah, yeah. I love to learn. I think probably that's why I took on horseback riding and doing all the things that I do, like outside of my regular job, because I'm constantly learning something new every single day, and I love that.
I think that's great advice. All we can do is learn to be better.
Yeah.
And to do better.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So the next step on your journey was Disney?
Yes. So in this industry, we all make the rounds, right? In the toy industry, you jump around quite a bit. And I had a really good network because I did licensed games at Hasbro. I did licensed games at Spin. And so I met my boss now years ago when I worked at Hasbro. So I had brought somebody over from Disney to work with me at Spin, and she's like, "Hey, I heard Divya is looking for someone." And I absolutely love Divya. And I called her up, and she's like, "Yep, I got a position open, come interview for it." And I don't think I've ever wanted anything so bad in my life as this position. Like to work for Divya, because she's amazing, to work for Disney, incredible, right? I've been working on the Lucasfilm team, which I grew up on Star Wars. I mean, right? Say no more. Say no more. To do that, and then to work with Lego, it was like a trifecta.
Box
like,
check.
Yeah.
Bucket list.
I was
done.
like, I had made it. It doesn't get any better. This is like now everything's just downhill from here. But I wanted this job so bad, and I interviewed, and I went through a series of interviews, and thankfully I got the job. And I know one of my biggest strengths is building relationships. And when you're in licensing, I think that's the key thing you have to have, is building relationships. Because people have to trust you. They have to trust you with their IP. They have to trust you with their product. They have to trust you with knowledge. And I started working with Lego about 9 years ago, and I've been in a global role for the past 9 years, and it's been amazing. And I do everything from like conception all the way through till it exits retail. We kind of touch everything. And then I'm also responsible for creating synergies across the Walt Disney Company. So that means I have to go, build a relationship with our ad sales team, our parks team, our resorts teams, our publishing teams to figure out how we can create synergies to drive the Lego business. So I have a very big network within Disney too, and it's the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. And I get to work with incredible filmmakers. Like just in the past, I don't know, 6 months, I've been on a couple phone calls with Jennifer Lee. I've worked with the Frozen filmmakers, Encanto filmmakers. Like we sit in the same room as these people, and it's incredible. They're like celebrities.
So you're somewhat the reason, like when I remember looking out the window out of my office on Halloween, and there's a school by our office, and I'm looking out, watching kids walk down the block, and every one of the kids is dressed as Elsa. Every one of the girls is like Elsa.
Yeah. And one year, I think it was like Elsa and Stormtroopers, or Elsa and Darth Vader or Kylo Ren. I think that's one year. That's all we saw was those two characters. We had kept a tally that year, and it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, my daughter was in school, and they had the Halloween costume contest, and the girls went up on the stage for the contest, and there was about 20, 25, and every one of them was, I think about 20 of them were Elsa. There was a couple of other Disney princesses, and then my daughter wanted to be Einstein, so she...
Oh.
Just by process of elimination. It's like, do we give it to all of the Elsas, or do we give it to the one other?
I love that. You must have been so proud of her.
Oh yeah, always am.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible what we get to do. And a lot of times we go down to the parks, and we bring Lego into the parks, and you see people dealing, like just touching what you've had a small part of every day. And I remember when I first started, we were down in the parks, and I was over by the teacups, and the fireworks were going off, and I cried. I cried because I was just so overwhelmed by the magic of Disney and what we do every day. And so now every fireworks show, I pretty much cry.
Could you talk a little bit more about your relationship with Lego and kind of how you make the magic happen?
Yeah. It's kind of easy, but kind of complicated at the same time, because I oversee all the franchises. So Disney, Avatar, Marvel, Star Wars, and each franchise works a little bit differently, when it comes to product and how we work with the teams. But I have relationships with all those teams internally at Lego. And then you have to, on the other side, you have to have these relationships with filmmakers. Because if you think about it, like these films are the babies, right, of the filmmakers and of the Walt Disney Company. They're cornerstones to our business. They mean so much, right? And we're all about storytelling. So when we go into Lego, we kind of have to make sure that we get that across. And Lego has been an amazing partner because they see the value in that. They understand like that these movies, these films, these stories are something that people have built lifetimes of memories on, that people love to collect, and they really get the essence of it. So when you go in and you work with these product designers, they are geniuses. They're so incredibly creative, and they just think of things that you can do, like with a brick. Like, how do you make flowers out of bricks, right? With their botanical lines, like how does that even happen? And then there's a lot of things like when you're working on a film, a design language might be circular, right? Like a castle is a little bit more circular. Like if you think of Jasmine's castle, right, in Aladdin, it's round, then you think of like Elsa's castle, and it's very vertical, right? So vertical, okay, we can get how we can do that with bricks, but how do you make round out of bricks? And these designers come up with the most incredible designs that you've ever seen. You just think, how did your head pick that brick? How did you know that putting that combination of bricks together is going to look exactly like we wanted it to look like, right? Or how was, if you think like we did Minnie and Mickey characters like out of bricks and it actually looked like Mickey and Minnie. It's incredible the creativity that they do. And then we just did a Hocus Pocus set that came out in September, just came out, and it's doing extremely well. And we also did the Up House, which is on fire. We did that for D100, and they actually figured out a way to make, have the balloons coming out of the chimney for the Up House. And I get boggled by their genius and how you can do that. And to see that process is pretty amazing. Like, I feel really lucky to be able to be kind of in on that process a little bit and see what's in their mindset. But they just look at these bricks in a different way that nobody in the toy industry, I think, looks at product. And then the way they manufacture is, I had to relearn everything, right? Like, when you're at the toy companies, you're like, oh, let's just make 2 sets of tools, or let's just airship this. And Lego's like, no. We almost came close to bankruptcy like 15 years ago. We're not doing that. So they have a very formulaic way in how many tools are built each year, how many colors are in the line each year, how many pieces of this do we make in this color every single year. They only do 2 iterations of packaging, which I remember working at Hasbro on 6 iterations of packaging. So I really had to flip my mindset too, to relearn how Lego does something in the toy industry, and then educate everybody at Disney on how that is. Because we work with Mattel, Hasbro, those are the big guys, right? Spin, Funko, and they do things one way. Lego is completely different. So it's incredible to see that process and see these products come to life. And we've won Toadies, I've won a couple Toady awards, and that's been crazy.
Lego's done very well on the Toadies especially these last few years.
They have. But when you're sitting there with these designers, and I have a product designer that's usually my partner, at Disney, and we sit there and we pick apart these sets, and we're we pick accessories and we pick colors, and we just something comes to life right in front of your eyes, and it's magical.
I would say that maybe it's awesome when you're part of that team.
Yeah, it is. Everything is awesome.
Couldn't help it.
We go around singing that every day.
Couldn't help it. So it's real. That's the real theme song to going to work every day.
Yes. And we just worked on a special together. The Lego Disney Princess Special just launched on Disney Plus on August 16th. And that's part of what Jennifer Lee was involved with. It was a huge group effort across our companies to create this Lego Disney Princess Special, the first one that ever happened, and it just launched. And I'm so proud of that too, because it was a huge undertaking, and it's actually really, really funny.
I'll have to check that out. I'm going to watch that with my 7-year-old.
Snow White's kind of a breakout character. She's got kind of a little unbalanced personality in this, and it's just hilarious.
All that crew she's hanging out with, they're bad influences.
Yep.
So one of the other things, I guess, that you've been helping on a lot is People of Play. You're chairing the advisory board, and that's coming right up. And so maybe we could touch on that a little bit before we go.
Sure. I've been chair of the advisory board, I think, for 3 years now, Dave. I can't quite remember, but this is another passion project of mine. Working with Mary Cousin is working with a force of nature, right? How this woman does everything she does in 24 hours is incredible and inspiring. And she's just that her. She's just the best person ever. And she's created this amazing show, which when I worked at Spin and Hasbro, we would go to Chicago, and I would be on the show floor. They were big sponsors, and we would play with kids for 10 hours straight. I remember, I think I played Stratego for 8 hours one day. 8 hours. How do you do that? But now that I'm part of it, it's incredible to see the community and the inventors and the people that you meet. Like, you meet guys like you, Dave, who do incredible things in this world. Like, look at the stuff that like you've done and the impact you've made on our world today. Like, I'm so privileged to know people like you, and so privileged to be able to be part of an organization that brings like a collective brain power, who have made probably the best memories for kids, in this lifetime, right? If you think, like, we met Ruben Klamer, right? The inventor of the game of life. Okay, how many times did you play that when you were a kid? How many memories do you have of like adding your little pegs to the car? All thanks to Ruben. And so I also do the Taggy Awards. So I'm host of the Taggy Awards.
Have you picked out your dress yet?
I haven't yet. I just emailed my stylist a couple days ago. So hopefully I'll have like another like contest online to see what I'm going to wear. But I really want to mix it up this year and kind of turn it over on its end. So hopefully I'll come up with some really good outfits. But I absolutely love hosting the Taggies because it's so much energy. It's so much fun. And we get to bring toys, like, and celebrate the people that have made all these amazing toys, and just have a lot of fun every year, one night to celebrate everybody. But then I'm also excited about that it's at the Rosemont this year, right? So we've totally gone away from Navy Pier. And remember last year, like when we were all at the Embassy Suites, I think it was in Chicago, right? It was so cool that everybody was there together, going up and down the floors, going to meetings. You see everybody, then you could walk in and sit down and catch like, some of the talks and the incredible speakers that they had. You were all in one place. So I'm really excited for that this year, and then also to be part of the fair again. So I think it's going to be bigger than ever. And the energy last year was incredible. So I can only imagine how much we're going to, how much more energy is going to be this year.
Well, I know it was life-changing for me, just, getting to meet Mary and getting sucked into the toy and game world. Kind of like, you were describing earlier your first day of walking into Hasbro and seeing the games on the wall, and kind of like there's like this this wow factor of like, oh, I get to be part of our culture, part of play. And for those, I guess, that have been to People of Play or ShyTag, they're aware, but there's a lot of people that have got game ideas, game inventors that have been doing other shows that are maybe more strategy game centric, versus what the whole purpose around People of Play is really trying to connect those game inventors, those toy inventors, with the toy and game scouts or the inventor relations people. I think Toy Scout or Game Scout's a more fun name than inventor relations.
It is. Our product acquisition.
Yeah.
That's kind of boring. When you kind of first met the People of Play and Mary, did you feel like you found your tribe?
It's very rare to go into an industry where you feel like suddenly everybody's for you, even your quote unquote competition. To have so many of my best friends now are other toy and game inventors. We would end the show, we'd have all our meetings, and it's set up in such a good way to where you can meet with somebody like every half hour if you want to and run yourself ragged. And you're not like, there's no filter. It's just like you get to meet with the inventor relations person for Hasbro, for Spin, for Disney, for whoever it might be. And like, you wrap up that day, but then at the end of the day, suddenly you find yourself, hey, what are we going to do? You end up at a pub and you're playing games with everybody till 2 a.m. It's fun when your work is play. If your work is play, you'll never work.
And the connections made there, I think, are ones you would never even think of. I think last year, we met someone who had a crystal technology that could, I think it is put into like clothing to avoid knockoffs. Like, I guess if you're Versace, you could have a certain crystal technology that's put in your clothes, so you can help ward off knockoffs. And then they married that with the toy industry, and it's just incredible that you can just come to these things and you have people who who believe in your ideas, right? Or believe in what you do, or see something that you didn't see before, and you can take it to the next level, places you'd never think you'd go. That's what I love about People of Play. And it's encouraging, right? Everybody's there to say, hey, I know a guy, or why don't you talk to this person? Let me introduce you to that person. I did this, I failed at this, but here's what I learned from it. And I think I see those things shared like during the days of the show that are just incredible, that you don't see very often in the toy industry.
It's magic. We'll be sure to put, for the viewers or listeners, we'll be sure to put those links for People of Play in the descriptions below. And if you haven't taken part in that, really seriously check it out. And if it's something you can't do, at least check out the People of Play portal as far as like a website, because that is another place where you can make those connections. But that's going to be an event that's an event I can never miss. It's a
must go event. But there are, for like people who can't go to Chicago, we do have like the online Zoom get-togethers. There are pub get-togethers in different cities around the world. So Mary makes it very attainable for anybody to kind of get into People of Play somehow, some way. And then she's got the Pop database, right? You can make a Pop profile for pennies, and you are all of a sudden in a database with so many people within the industry that you can reach out to. If you're like, I have a game idea, but I don't know how to get it going, you just look in the database, you just search for people, and people pop up. Like my email's in there, so somebody could read, and they absolutely reach out. And I think that's just an amazing tool for people to have that they don't even know exists.
It is special.
Before we wrap things up, thank you for being on the show, by the way, bringing such an incredible
welcome.
energy. You have such great stories and great insights.
Thank you.
Before we go, it's time for some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
We're going to roll the die here 3 times, and whatever the die lands on, we will fire you a question to answer.
Got a whole bunch of new
Perfect.
questions too, so buckle up.
Okay, I'm ready.
We'll see some of these. We'll see what you get here. But in Branson, since you can't roll, you got a surrogate roller here for you.
First roll.
Okay.
Dollar sign. Okay. Imagine you won the lottery and you're able to hire any 4 celebrities for a game night. Who are you playing a game with?
4 celebrities for a game night. Okay, Sam Heughan from Outlander, because he is hot. Sophie Skelton, because she is also on Outlander, and she's her dad is in the toy industry.
Wow.
So she would be a great game player. Let me see. Who else would I want? Jennifer Aniston, because she seems like just funny, and Adam Sandler.
More funny.
Yes.
That's a great answer.
Man.
The Crossbones.
Uh-oh.
What is the scariest toy or game you've ever had to encounter?
Frickin' perfection.
It's so stressful.
It is. And like every time it pops, your heart stops. And it causes you so much anxiety. I think that's, was like the worst anxiety you felt as a kid is like you're just trying to get those shapes in there, and nothing, it just pops in your face, scares the crap out of you. It's as bad as a Jack in the Box.
I'm with you. All right, one more.
Final roll.
Okay.
The Broken Heart.
Aw.
Oh. Is there a game that you've tried to love but you just couldn't?
A few of them come to mind. When I worked at Hasbro, we'd have offsites, and they'd always play this werewolf game. And I guess you had to. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The werewolf game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hated that game. I hated playing it. I was never any good at it. Every offsite, we had to play this stupid werewolf game. I was trying to disappear when that I couldn't even tell you how to play. I was just so bad at it.
It's like borderline
then,
team
like-
building. That's the problem, right?
Yes.
Except
Yeah.
for it's team building where you get to kill each other.
Yes. I'm not good at strategic games. Like it took me 8 hours to be good at Stratego when I had to play that. In games like Othello, I could just never do. Like those strategy games, not good at all. And I've never enjoyed them.
Well, you have found your niche. That's for
Yes.
sure. Hey, this has been marvelous having you on the show. Again, I just wanted to thank you. I've had a blast getting to dive
you.
into the stories.
I really appreciate the opportunity. It's amazing. And thank you for doing this, Dave, for the industry and to kind of showcase what we all do behind the scenes every day. It's nice to be able to talk about it.
You bet. But I guess I will see you at People of Play. And
You will.
until next time,
It's coming up fast.
let's keep playing games.
See ya.
Okay. Thank you.
This has been Hidden Roll, the brains behind your favorite toys, games, and all things play. If you like what we're doing, the best way you can support us is to share us with your favorite brains. Please thumbs up, leave a review, and follow Hidden Roll Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. You can also sign up for our newsletter at www.hiddenrollpodcast.com for a monthly sneak peek at our upcoming content. That's Hidden Roll, ROLE, podcast.com. Our episodes are available on all major listening platforms, or if you'd like to see our beautiful faces, all of our content is available to watch on YouTube. If you know of someone who would be a great fit to appear in our podcast, or if you'd like to learn the story behind any toy or game, send us an inquiry at hiddenrollpodcast.com/suggestions. Or let us know on our social media. We love to hear your feedback and ideas. Once again, special thanks to Pop, People of Play, the one-stop hub for all toy and game inventors. Visit www.peopleofplay.com to learn more. This podcast is also made possible by the continued support of the brains who never grew up, inventors of play, Streamline Design. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.